Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to give you guys my full review, the digitally digested segment for the Asus Transformer Pad Infinity. Now, before I get to, all of the details you really need to know about whether this is the right tablet for you, or you should be going with the Galaxy Note 10.1 or even some other less expensive tablet out there, I want to just give you guys the specs and price point of what you're looking at here. So obviously $499.99 buys you the 32 gig version of this tablet. You're looking at the champagne version. It also comes in a gray color. I've covered both colors. In fact, also even showed you guys, how it looks with the mismatching prime gray, amethyst gray dock, because the colors are subtly different. I do want to point that out. So for $500, you're getting pretty much a beast. Definitely, without question, the best tablet on the market right now. Of course, it does have some issues, which I will get to through the course of the review, but they are minor and really not game breakers. In fact, the only thing that this tablet represents is a game changer in my mind. Now, a lot of you out there may feel that it's just a refresh of the Prime. I wholeheartedly disagree with that interpretation, because really it does best the Prime in every single way. Will something better come out? Absolutely. But anyway, I'm going off track. Let's get to the specs. So of course, most importantly, you've got the latest build, and by build I mean the redesigning of the Tegra 3, a smaller chipset, clocked at 1.6 gigahertz. So is there a substantial difference in performance? It really depends on how far you're going to push the tablet, but there's no question this is faster than just about anything on the market, with the exception of the Galaxy Note 10.1. So really good browsing experience, really good flash experience. Video playback is incredible, especially because this tablet has the best screen, in my opinion, outside of anything with a Super AMOLED that any tablet on the market has to offer. And that's because not only does it still have that Super IPS Plus display that we had with the Transformer Prime, the previous generation, but now you've got a 1920 by 1200 resolution display. So really pushing it up to that iPad 3 similarity, almost the exact same spec, quite frankly. But what's more impressive about this screen than the iPad 3 is not only that it's got that 600 nit brightness, which makes it the brightest screen available on any tablet, but you are actually utilizing all of the resolution. When you use an iPad 3, despite what you may think with that Retina display, you are not really utilizing all of the pixels. If you have any questions about what I just referenced, go ahead and give it a Google, and you'll see the software has been designed in order to scale and not really give you a true native Retina experience, even though it's marketed as such. So that's a unique element to this. Also being able to watch YouTube videos in 1080p, that's where this tablet's really going to shine. Of course, utilizing Flash in desktop mode. But all of those things aside, this is really the best offering that I've seen from any manufacturer. Now, of course, it has imperfections, mostly due to build quality, but I'm still going off topic. Back to build. I've mentioned processor. I've mentioned the great screen, which is really unmatched by anything on the market. And once you go to this resolution, it's going to be really tough to go back, which you're going to see in the videos I'm about to play back for you guys. But otherwise, I think that when you put it side by side with something like the Galaxy Note 10.1, even though you will see a difference, it really depends on what you're trying to get out of the tablet and whether or not you're going to get involved with rooting, tweaking, because if you're not, then the Galaxy Note 10.1 seems to present a better out-of-box experience. But of course, the Transformer simply cannot be matched in terms of the spec sheet and the ability to really replace a computer, a laptop in my mind, which is something that the Note even would be challenged in terms of trying to replace, because it just doesn't have the Transformer capability. But back to specs, a gig of RAM. Yes, the Galaxy Note 10.1 has 2 gigs. Is it better in that realm? Sure. But again, this tablet has bested the Prime once again. So not only does it have a later version of the Tegra 3 processor clocked at a higher speed, but you're also getting a newer gen of RAM. That 1 gig is DDR3, so the latest RAM, at least, that you can get on a tablet. The flash storage, on the other hand, the 32 and 64 gigs of internal storage you're going to get here, that hasn't changed. So same speed as the Prime, so that's noteworthy. The cameras, you're looking at the front-facing 2 megapixel camera, works really well. In fact, the Infinity really does boast the best cameras I've seen on any tablet on the market right now, and that includes my limited experience with the Galaxy Note 10.1. The rear camera is rated at 8 megapixels, has an LED flash, and is really impressive. Again, I'm not a big fan of trying to use a tablet as a photographic tool. Maybe the smaller tablets are a little bit more legitimate in terms of their photographic capabilities because of their form factor, but 10-inch plus tablets really don't leave the house for me unless it's the Transformer, because it is the equivalent, in my uses at least, of what an Ultrabook represents. Clearly it doesn't run a full OS, but it's pretty close. So, you know, you've got really all of the best specs you could possibly imagine. Updates from the Prime, better cameras, better screen, better processor, better RAM. The only thing they neglected, as I mentioned before, was the internal flash memory. No improvement there, but that's a very small gripe because it's still solid, to say the least. I/O issues do exist. I'll get to those a little bit later, but I don't want to bore you guys too much. I know I've been talking quite a bit about the tablet and what it represents, especially in comparison to the Galaxy Note 10.1, because I think that's, if you're looking for the best Android tablet right now, for your money and the best out-of-box experience, these have to be the two tablets you're looking at, especially since they're priced extraordinarily similarly. Also, battery life, I want to tell you guys about that. You know, without the Transformer dock, you're looking at really 8 to 9 hours of battery life, and that, of course, depends on your usage, whether you're web browsing or, you know, doing strictly video. If you combine it with the keyboard dock, you're going to pull off, at least in the month I've spent with it, more around 14 to 15 hours. But again, that's going to vary based on screen brightness, you know, a whole host of different features. You know, if you're going to be playing back AVC HD quality video, that's going to burn out the battery a lot quicker than just using YouTube. So, really good battery life, though, unmatched in my opinion. All the competition falls short when it comes to the battery life that the entire Transformer package has to offer. You do get that micro SD card slot for storage expansion. I use it usually with my 64 gig card. Really nice complement to it. Also, you have micro HDMI out for 1080p mirroring to a television. So really, this is just a powerhouse even without the keyboard dock. So with all of that said, I've given you guys pretty much all the specs, but the most important thing to note is that build quality has stayed aluminum, very solid, very well made for the most part. I'll show you the other parts later, but beyond the build quality, you finally have really solid radio. So when it comes to Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth, everything works really well. There is a Bluetooth bug I want to point out. I've experienced it when you're in the YouTube application. You are going to have to use wired headphones. Don't ask me why. Don't have an answer for it. Bluetooth simply does not work. It's just another one of those bugs that I anticipate will be remedied by ASUS, because they are extraordinarily aggressive, especially since they're now the Nexus partner through the Nexus 7's launch and success so far, at least judging by the way it's been welcomed to the marketplace, especially at that incredible price point. So this really represents the opposite of the Nexus. And another great thing to note is that Jelly Bean is on the way. This is the only tablet at its price point and with the quality specs I've just mentioned that will be getting Jelly Bean before the year is over. At least that's what's been implied by ASUS. I know I confirmed with Toshiba today that the Excite lineup would not be seeing Jelly Bean until 2013. So something I wanted to just let all of you know out there who are, again, looking at all different 10-inch form factor Tegra 3 based Android tablets, even if they don't have the fabulous Super IPS Plus display that this tablet touts. So with all of the specs and, you know, cross comparison, let's get down to performance. I know we're already, you know, way into this review, but I think those of you who follow the channel, you know, my regular subscribers know I try to give you guys just about every element of what the product has to offer. So let's start with some flash playback. Give you the update for the Galaxy Note 10.1. And by the way, in terms of build quality, there's no question that the Transformer is the better feeling constructed, you know, aluminum solid device. Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to give you guys a quick update on my experience with the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1. Gonna pause that. I'm gonna bump up the resolution to 720p take us to full screen, and this should serve as a relatively good example of, you know, screen performance, at least for 720p content. I know it's not that full 1080p that the screen is all about. You may notice a little bit of the backlight bleed here. If you can't see it, basically every transformer, you know, Infinity that I've seen thus far has pretty much uniform backlight bleed right here around the home and back buttons, and then a little bit on the right side. I've mentioned this in previous videos. Really nitpicking, you're not going to notice that in general performance. I want all of you to know that. So while it is something that I don't like seeing on any tablet at such a high price point, it's still a very minor gripe. Let's go ahead and watch that video. Unboxing, if it wants to play it. You'll also get a pretty good indication of speaker quality, because that's been another big area of, you know, criticism for this tablet. Quality just isn't that great. Doesn't seem to want to be playing right now, even though it was working a second ago. See if I can skip ahead. Unless it's crashing on us, which is possible. By the way, that's something I want to mention, a difference I've noticed between this device and the Galaxy Note 10.1. Even though ASUS is far more aggressive on updating the device, see, yeah, we're actually getting a crash. I'm gonna try waiting, because what I wanted to explain to you guys is that even though ASUS is far more aggressive in trying to update their products than Samsung, because Samsung is a much larger company, it just seems so far for the Note 10.1 experience out of the box, I haven't been having any crashes, any hiccups, any unresponsiveness. So I can't just chalk that up to hardware. I have to also give Samsung credit on software. And that's not to say ASUS does not do a very good job, but you're seeing here right now, this isn't quite, you know, Bill Gates' blue screen of death presentation, but it's not working. Can't even get out of Flash the playback here. So we're gonna close it. Gonna go ahead and actually try this again, because that's the first time I've actually seen it lock up that badly. Usually a little bit of unresponsiveness. I would say in the month that I've had it, I've maybe seen it happen a handful of times. So you guys just happen to be blessed to catch it here on the actual review. All of the tabs I had opened previously are going to reload, obviously. So this will also give you a pretty good idea of how fast the tablet is in terms of, you know, opening 3 tabs simultaneously with Flash content. Here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to give you guys a quick update. I'm sure now it'll work flawlessly, because that was just, you know, the magic of the style in which I shoot these videos. Unless it won't either. It appears it's not cooperating either. Let's go ahead and just try it right here from the home screen, since we're striking out with all of these videos. I'm not sure why. I would say I'll jump over to Chrome, but we all know Chrome has no Flash support, so despite the superior browsing experience, you're just not going to get that Flash support. Yeah, it seems like something's wrong here, so I'm going to close out everything, start anew. Bear with me. Hopefully some of you are patient. I don't expect everyone to be. Try the unboxing video, see if it works. Really haven't seen this happen, so I'm kind of surprised. I wonder if there's something wrong with my network in the process, but it's showing a pretty solid connection, full bars, which is about 65 in terms of what I've seen on transfer rates, but you can see everything is crawling right now. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's just, for a matter of fact checking, go ahead and jump on Chrome, and then I'll just show you the YouTube app. I'm sad to, you know, be giving you guys this full detailed review and then see it fail so clearly, but this is part of what I was talking about with just a better out-of-box experience with the Galaxy Note. Obviously you can install ROMs on here, and there's a far greater development community because you know, you can unlock this device, so that obviously is also going to play into your favor, but that was really not a good indication of performance right there, especially considering I just wiped this device for this review, so it's relatively clean. I think the only thing I've installed is like BS Player, which is to show you guys some AVC HD playback. So let's go into Chrome, because I have a feeling we're not going to have similar problems here. And let's just go to Engadget. We'll go to a couple different websites for browsing. I can't show you Flash performance, obviously, but I can at least show you browsing. And then I'll show you the YouTube app. Yeah, so clearly something wrong with the stock browser, and that's where you know, that's a love-hate relationship I have with the stock browser. I like having that flash playback, but quite frankly, I haven't seen a flop as big as that one in months and from any manufacturer. So I'm going to call that one a fluke. If I would reshoot this, which I'm not going to because we're already 15 minutes in, then you guys probably wouldn't have seen that performance issue. But overall, I can tell you guys in the time I've spent with this that it has worked really, really well. Now you can see browsing really smooth, you know, flick to scroll, no issues. Sony, more NEX cameras coming out. You guys know how much I like those, so that's definitely good news. And everything just works as it should. So Chrome runs really well here. You know, there are free apps, do split screen the same way you do on the Galaxy Note 10.1. So if the split screen is really your big draw, do know that you can do it for free here on the Infinity or the Prime, or any Android tablet for that matter, with a free application from the Play Store. So this is working well. Let's go ahead and see if I can actually open up the YouTube application and see if that even works, since the browser didn't want to cooperate. So let's just go ahead and search the Digital Digest. Populate some videos. I don't want to show any, you know, old stuff to you guys, but it may not end up being the Galaxy Note 10.1. Let's see if I can get a nice sunrise, because that'll show off the screen at least. I'll be able to show you guys some 1080p, well, not 1080p, but you know, the highest quality that the YouTube application at least permits. Alright, so I saw one sunrise. Not my favorite, but the RX100 is a great camera, so let's take a look at this. Flash performance on here has been fantastic. This isn't flash performance. I'm tempted to give it one more shot, but I don't want to put you guys to sleep trying to prove that this tablet doesn't have an issue. Let's see if I actually close it out, if that makes any difference to us, because you can see I've got quite a few things running here. By the way, multitasking on here has been a breeze. Chalk that up to the improvement in the RAM, as well as, you know, the improvement in the processor. The screen does make everything work a little bit harder because, again, it is a native 1200p resolution, so you really do need that extra beefed up Tegra 3. I don't think that, as I mentioned earlier in the video, you're going to be blown away by the difference if you own the Prime currently. Where you are going to be blown away, though, even though this is a better screen, no question about it, even in terms of color temperature, far more accurate, where you will be blown away is you know, the Wi-Fi and GPS performance, because those radios have all been upgraded and the Iron Curtain, so to speak, has been, you know, taken off. You now have plastic back there along the top border, so you can actually use those radios rather than have them sealed shut and be not useless, but I know a lot of you out there didn't have great Wi-Fi performance. Forget about GPS. I'm not getting into that. But you can see I've got a lot of things going here. Let's try closing some of them out. Get rid of the browser, because that's what's problematic. Let me go ahead and see if now we get performance, and I bet we do. Yeah, I mean, a complete fluke. You can now see how quickly this is loading up, and I guarantee you that the performance will be no issue here, and that's part of what I've been talking about. So maybe it's a good thing you guys got a preview of that here, because after all, the whole idea is to give you guys genuine reviews. I'm not trying to sugarcoat or you know, do anyone a favor here. Not being paid to review this product. Skip that ad, thankfully. Let me pause this, adjust the settings here to 720p, go ahead and make it full screen, and let's see if my speculation is correct. Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1. So this is a Wi-Fi Android tablet running Ice Cream Sandwich, Samsung's latest and greatest, just launched today, August 16th. This is the 16 gig version, priced at $499.99. There's also a... Just to give you an idea of buffering, let's go ahead and skip ahead. Looks like I'm catching the mute instead. Here we go. 720p. This is not a 1080p clip like the other sample that I was attempting to show you guys, but I will show you that. My fault, I didn't hit play, so that didn't really... Now we can see absolutely no buffering whatsoever. So really impressed with the performance here. Is it up to snuff with the Galaxy Note 10.1? It's really close, but I have to give the edge on overall performance, even stock, to the Note when it comes to browsing, flash playback, and just the lack of hiccups. I mean, you guys just saw a perfect example of where here it's now working flawlessly. A moment ago, it was a rock, and no good explanation or excuse for that. Let's go ahead and try a piece of 1080p video footage so that you can see how well that works. And that was all because of the stock browser crashing. It had nothing to do with flash performance, chipset, memory. So I do leave this Ice Cream Sandwich experience pretty much stock. They add a few things, which I'll be showing you guys later, but not a whole lot, because they're really focused on giving you guys you know, the best experience, and right now that really is defined by what Google is manufacturing on their own, rather than all the different skins. But I think that Samsung's got a good thing going with the Galaxy Note 10.1, but of course I need to spend more time with it. So let's go ahead, outside of the non-full HD display. So let's go ahead and take a look at a clip where I can show you guys real 1080p playback, and then I'm going to show you some raw AVC HD files so you really see, you know, the true leveraging of the native resolution of this display. Let's go on. I'm waiting to pause it. A little bit of buffering there. You can see the performance. I mean, it's like we're on a different tablet from what happened earlier with the no responsiveness, the hanging. Let's go ahead and change the quality up to 1080p. Now this might tax it a little bit more. After all, we are bumping it up to something that no tablet could run on the market, frankly. I mean, a lot of tablets that don't have this resolution can run it, but that's being scaled, so that's not a proper comparison. And as you can see, there's no choppiness here, completely smooth. I am nowhere near my router, and yet we've got a full, you know, connection, or as strong and as solid a connection as you could possibly want. I do think that the Wi-Fi chipset is slightly superior in the Galaxy Note 10.1, but it's a marginal difference. I've seen like maybe a 5 megabit difference than what I'm seeing here. So that's really small and basically negligible. So Wi-Fi performance is great here. GPS locks almost instantaneously, even inside my home. So you pretty much will have no problem getting a GPS lock with this if that's a fear from the Prime, even though ASUS has shied away from even marketing it as having GPS, which I think is kind of silly because it works really well. So give yourself credit where it's due. So overall, I've shown you guys some flash performance. Now, one of the things I really love about this tablet is that after I've shot some video either with something like the 30V, the NEX7, you know, the RX 100. I mean, it's great to be able to then take that SD card right out of the camera and just pull it out of the adapter, as I just showed you guys the other day, that SanDisk 32 gig micro SD card, that Ultra Class 10. So I popped it in here, and if I go ahead and jump into the native application that they have for seeing external storage, you can see it populates everything on the card. And I've got some raw AVC HD files on here, so I just wanted to give you guys an example of what playback is like. So let's start with this. I'm not even sure what they are. They're not labeled, if you noticed, some of them at least. Now this is something I showed you guys in the past, but I was running a different third-party player. This is BS Player, also hardware encoded, but running completely smooth, butter. And this is really leveraging all of that fantastic resolution that this display has to offer on the Infinity. Part of why it has that title. And by the way, the entire review is being shot in the Super IPS Plus mode, which even though it's dubbed for outdoor mode, you know, feel free to use it if you do want that extra brightness, although it is a bit of a retina burner if you're staring at it for an extended period of time. Alright, so that's one example, and you guys can see absolutely no problem playing this from that same card that I shot the video on. Show you another sample. I showed this in the past with X Player, or excuse me, V Player, and it didn't play back properly.
So just wanted to
here, completely smooth.
Get a little video footage of it. It's been here a long time, but apparently it's not being salvaged. And it's from before the turn of the century, late 1800s. Ferry boat designed to bring people from Hoboken, Jersey side to New York.
So really fantastic quality. You can see hardware up there. It's telling you advertisement because this is a free version of the application. You can purchase a ad-free version as well. Really like BS Player, by the way. I've stopped using V Player because the free version, frankly, is working better right now than V Player. But I'm sure V Player will update and correct that because, as you guys can see, the Tegra 3 actually just eats AVC HD, you know, raw files for breakfast, no problem. And with this stunning display, you really get to enjoy, you know, that fantastic video that you just shot with pretty much any camera on the market. So this tablet has no problem taking your micro SD card slot, or rather micro SD card, and playing back whatever type of content you have in, you know, the highest HD formats that are basically on the market today, which is why I'm showing you AVC HD playback. Of course, if you have the Transformer dock, then you can use a full-size SD card, which is certainly a nice ability. Definitely something I would like to have. I think all users would. But I know there are a lot of you out there that are going to buy this tablet and forego the Transformer experience just because it still does represent pretty much the best tablet on the market. As long as you're willing to invest some time, you know, in it, and of course wait for ASUS's very consistent updates. Again, I cannot stress enough how aggressive they are. So let's move away from the file manager. By the way, on a separate note with that file manager, I do have to give ASUS credit. They support NTFS and FAT32 file extensions, so you can use, you know, either or, whereas Toshiba, as much as I love my Excite 7.7, only can deal with FAT32. So definitely a good thing about ASUS. That's one of the areas where they go out of their way to make sure your tablet's going to operate just like a computer. You shouldn't have limitations, and they've taken care of the drivers for that. So I like that. It's something I've always liked about the Transformer lineup, and it's just, you know, even better now that on the most recent firmware update, they have resolved the I/O speeds, which a lot of people were having issues with. So in terms of bugs, there aren't a lot of them. Web browser generally works really well, even though you guys saw it basically, you know, drop out completely, turn, you know, brick style. YouTube application works nicely. The cameras I've mentioned are fantastic. Gallery mode is, you know, self-explanatory. Supernote, it's been on the previous Transformer, a good standard app for them to include. You know, Play Music, also self-explanatory. The Play Store, Gmail application, everything just runs extraordinarily quickly. Google services, very similar, you know, an application folder to launch a whole host of different apps, something that is, you know, pretty much standard on Jelly Bean. So you've got that, and really all the niceties. Polaris Office, your library for e-reading, which, by the way, with this really high resolution screen, your e-reading experience is going to be fantastic. Those of you who have not moved up to really high res displays like the one offered here, you won't be able to tell the difference. But, you know, people who have, it's difficult to go back is what I would say. if you have to compare it. Anyway, let me jump out of here. This is again an ASUS native application that they're including. You see the ASUS at Vibe. They don't put a tremendous amount of software, but they do try to integrate things. MyNet, that basically is a service so that you can, remote view your computer, utilize all types of different cloud-based services. So that's also another good application for them to throw in. Basically get access to everything on your home network. They do it all pretty much. And these are the things you would want to see a tablet manufacturer at the very least try to offer you. If they're going to try to stay away from bloatware, that's a good thing, but they should still try to enhance the package they're delivering in order to make themselves unique. And ASUS certainly does that. With MyCloud, that's really, as I was mentioning before, where you get access to, remote desktop, content, and it's just good that they include these things because no one else really does. Their file manager, as I mentioned before, it's pretty solid. You guys saw what it looked like before. Pretty straightforward. If I jump into settings, you can see just everything works really fluidly. I'll check right now in case we're going to get Jelly Bean while I'm doing this update, but I have a feeling we're not going to. Let's see. Jelly Bean, Jelly Bean, Jelly Bean. No Jelly Bean. So that's the end of that. But you guys can pretty much see where the build is at and all of the things you need to. And, look, it's a really great tablet. Screen resolution and quality, fantastic. Yes, it does have a little bit of backlight bleed. It's not really worth complaining about unless, it really does disturb you. If you have dead pixels or something like that, absolutely return it and get another one because I really haven't seen a dead pixel issue. Really just backlight bleed. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the actual physical build quality because I've pretty much covered just about everything else with you guys. I'm going to just jump into the software drawer here and see if there's anything else I want to talk about that they've included, but there really isn't. I mean, they've made sure that this thing can really replace a netbook at the very least, and like I keep saying, depending on your uses, maybe more, especially with the video playback capabilities. That's something that we couldn't see on an ultra-portable laptop even really 2 years ago. So it's amazing that this device, this tablet, not only has a higher resolution, better screen than any Ultrabook on the market, it also has better battery life than any Ultrabook. Granted, we're not running a full OS, we all know that, but it's still really, really impressive what ASUS has pulled off in this extraordinarily lightweight powerhouse package here. So obviously, you guys know I like the tablet. We've established that. I've mentioned all of the great things about it. My biggest problem really is the build quality. So yes, I've already said many times, backlight bleed, not a big deal. Unless you're watching like a movie with a black screen, you're really not going to notice it. Even right now, it's tough to notice. If I was in a room that was completely dark, then I would see it. So if you're on a plane, any dark environment, you will pick up the backlight bleed there. If you don't even know what backlight bleed means, then you probably don't need to worry about it. So that's my best way of answering that question. But the creaking that I'm talking about, which I mentioned in my previous videos, that it just seems like the Gorilla Glass 2, by the way, which is on here, which is 30% thinner. I saw a demonstration back at CES 2012. It's also on my Galaxy S3. Certainly like that they incorporated it. Just another a sign of ASUS making this better than the Prime in every single way, even though I do think they were a little bit late to market with this product, but that's another story. You'll hear right now, just from me, basically, I'm not even putting pressure. So, I mean, I'm not doing this to expose ASUS in any way. All of my tablets, when I say all of, you guys saw I had a gray one as well. And I also did have a 64 gig version, kind of had this problem where for some reason the bezel in certain areas just, is not staying flush. It doesn't seem like it's glued, honestly. I think that's the best way of putting it. And that's a little bit disappointing at this price point. Now, whether or not it's going to be something that really disturbs you is frankly subjective, because if you look at something like the Galaxy Note 10.1, it's made of all plastic, whereas here with the Transformer, you're getting a really nice aluminum build, Gorilla Glass 2, just in my opinion, one of the best made tablets on the market, not just in terms of internals, but also in terms of the aesthetic, and just it feels like a quality product, whereas the Galaxy Note 10.1, because it's all plastic, definitely does lend to a little bit more of a cheaper build, and that it shouldn't necessarily be at the same price point, even though it's slightly more feature rich, arguably out of the box, unless you of course have the transformer dock, which just turns this thing into a whole nother beast that's unmatched by anything on the market. So personally, I'm not in love with this issue. This is probably the worst that I've seen, so I hate this to be the digitally digested segment where you guys see the worst creaking issue I've had. And it's not like I had to actually press to find this out. I didn't go around the tablet squeezing it to look for uneven glass. I basically just picked it up one day and it popped. And I had to say, what's going on here? And that's when I started looking at the other tablets and noticing, that all in different areas seem to have varying levels of, just not being apparently glued properly. That's all I can, surmise from my experience with the QC control from ASUS. So, as I mentioned in previous reviews, kind of surprised that there are more quality controls with such a high-end product like the Infinity as opposed to the Nexus 7, but it's really a matter that is completely subjective, and I think 95% of users out there are going to be thoroughly pleased with this device overall and the performance it does bring to the table, even at its expensive $500 price point. Important thing to note is that even though this is $500 for 32 gigs and $600 for 64, the Prime was more expensive. A 64 gig version there was $650. So they did close the gap slightly. So a benefit really in every way. Basically what it comes down to here is that if you've been waiting for the best Android tablet on the market, you're looking at it. You may have to go through one or two, unfortunately, to find a better one. And really by that I mean in terms of the glass being flush. My concern, by the way, if you're wondering, I'm not just nitpicking, if the glass is not really adhesed properly, you're going to end up with dust under the screen, which is actually, in my opinion, worse than dead pixels, because they accumulate a lot more quickly, obviously, since dead pixels generally don't just start appearing. Whereas dust, as all of you know, does appear just about everywhere. So keep that in mind, but overall build quality, I would still give roughly an 8 out of 10, despite all of the issues I just mentioned, because most users will not, I think, even notice these things unless they're very apparent, like the area down here that I just showed you guys that just clearly sounds like it's, days away from maybe breaking, and that's just with regular usage. So overall, really like this tablet. It represents best in breed, especially if you combine it with the keyboard dock. That's where I think it really does earn its weight in terms of its price point, because right now if you go out and pick up the Prime dock rather than the one designed specifically for the TF700, which is what you're looking at here, you will get that for roughly around $100, and so for $600, maybe even tax-free. By the way, this has gone down in price, $488 now from Amazon. So if you're tax-free, that's a great deal in my opinion, certainly better than a lot of the Ultrabook options out there, even though Toshiba's about to roll out some real budget, or already has started rolling out some budget Ultrabooks. But again, we're really comparing completely different products, but I'm trying to cover all the bases so that, those of you who are on the fence, really trying to figure out if this is where your hard-earned money should go, you have the full picture. So I think I've given that to you guys here. We've gone through specs, pricing, battery life, performance with the keyboard dock is pretty much the same as it was with the Prime. But the overall experience, obviously, because of all these improvements that I've mentioned through the course of this video, really do shine. Love the fact, as I showed you guys, that I can just pop that micro SD card out and throw it into the tablet and play back pretty much anything I need to. For reviewing photos, this is another area where this tablet really shines. If you're a photographer and want to really be able to see what you just shot, this is the tablet to own, not the iPad. And it's a strong statement, but it's a true one, because here you will actually utilize the native resolution, and you won't be doing that on the iPad. So for those of you out there who think you are, I need to make that clear. Native res will come in handy, especially the extra brightness won't hurt if you're out working in the field. Of course, that's a tangent for a niche audience, but I wanted to make it clear, since a lot of you guys that follow my channel do also, of course, have a great interest in photography like myself. But I think I've pretty much covered everything. So you guys know that you're getting a really great tablet, really great performance, but If you're thinking about the Galaxy Note 10.1, go see it in store because there's no question it's a little bit snappier, different chip of course, double the RAM, slightly better Wi-Fi performance, but doesn't have the build quality to, despite the gripes I mentioned about backlight bleed and the glass here having a little bit of flex in certain areas. The Galaxy Note 10.1 is, as I already told you guys, all plastic, so from a build quality perspective, certainly inferior to the Transformer despite everything I've pointed out. But overall, really like this tablet. It is the best tablet on the market right now, and I think until CES, it'll probably remain the best tablet on the market, especially once it gets Jelly Bean. And it will be the first 10-inch tablet other than the Motorola Xoom to get Jelly Bean, so that's a pretty big bragging right. Excuse me, let me correct myself. With this resolution, since the TF300 did already start to get the Jelly Bean rollout, so the TF700 is still waiting. The TF300, the budget Transformer, did already get its Jelly Bean update or has started rolling out, so correct that there. What I meant by that was in terms of the first tablet to have a 1200p screen that would have a Jelly Bean update, which is pretty critical because after all, how good a piece of hardware is only as good as its support from its manufacturer. But I think I've covered everything. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And if you've made it through all 40 plus minutes of this video, congratulations. But this is one of the best products I've ever had the pleasure of using. So I felt it really did deserve the extra camera time. But again, any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.